Yes, what's happening, people? And welcome back to Gav Goes In. This one I'm going to enjoy a lot, man. I'm going to enjoy this one a lot because this is a player, yeah, for me that it's actually quite a shame what actually happened to his career in the end. And I think, I'm not sure if you guys have seen my streams from early on, my content from early on, but I actually touched on this before. And it's a shame what happened to this player early on. I think, if you followed his career, obviously he lost his father, and then from then it was like a downward spiral in terms of falling out of love with football. And obviously, for the last that I heard, he was in the favelas, involved in gang activity from what I heard. And it's a shame, man, because this guy, for me, like R9's my favourite ever striker, Brazilian Ronaldo, the real Ronaldo. And I've not seen a striker better than him. But this guy I'm going to talk about, a compatriot, for me, I think he could have gone down as the closest striker in terms of what he offered to rival R9, in my opinion. Because I genuinely think he was that good. And again, if you're from the days of the championship manager, championship manager days, this was the guy I signed every time I bought that game. He was the first striker I signed. You could sign him for peanuts back then as well. Sorry, you could sign him for peanuts back then as well. And, first thing I did was sign him for Manchester United, put number 10 on his back. And I tell you now, no word of a lie, this guy used to hit, a minimum. He was hitting a minimum for me in all competitions, 60 goals minimum. Like if he got less, yeah, than 60 goals in all comps, he's had a bad season. That is how devastating he was, and nicknamed the Emperor, yeah, and that's none other than Adriano, and again, one of my favorite ever players. I remember the days of co-owned. Again, if you guys not from that era, obviously in Italy they had a thing called co-ownership, where you're co-owned by two teams and you're loaned to one of them as well. And he was co-owned at the time, I believe, by Inter Milan and Fiorentina. No, sorry, my bad. I think it was Fiorentina and Parma he might have been co-owned at. Yeah, it was Fiorentina and Parma. That's who he was co-owned by. And then obviously he went to Inter Milan where he done his dirt, man. And I'll tell you now, one of my favourite players, man, left-footed as well, left-footed strikers. I always think left-footed strikers, they just got something different about them, And Adriano, man, there was no flaws. He had pace. He was a physical demon. His left foot was just ridiculous in terms of the power and precision. He could finish. And again, it's important to remember, finishing is because people get this mixed up, yeah. Finishing is about a variety of different finishes. That's why it's called finishing. And he had a variety of different finishes, and he could score goals, he could create, he was technical. Like, if anyone remembers the back in the day, yeah, of the Pro Evo games, Inter Milan had Adriano and Ibrahimovic up top together. It was illegal because you had two players there that were identical. Just the difference was one was left-footed, one was right-footed. But they were the two strongest guys on the game. They both had long-range shooting, both could score a variety of goals. Both had skill. Like, it was ridiculous, and those were the days, man, that I used to love watching, and again, he was aggressive as well, but in the right way. He couldn't be bullied, and again, he was very, very strong, Adriano. And as I said, back in the day where he was co-owned, I remember first watching him, I think for Parma. If anyone remembers the Parma kit, man, they're like a yellow kind of stripy kit. Can't remember, yellow and white or grey or something, stripy kit. And the first thing I said, who's this guy, man? He just looked ridiculous. And again, he was co-owned by Parma and Fiorentina. And then obviously Inter Milan saw something in him and then snapped him up. And the rest is history, man, because this guy was an absolute demon. When I say the word demon, yeah, he was the definition of a demon. Like, there was nothing you could do with Adriano. He just had everything, And again, the football manager games that I used to play, man, the guy was hitting 60 goals minimum. 60 goals minimum. He'd have a bad season if he didn't get 60. That's how good he was. And he was surpassing that regularly. you know. And as I said, it's a shame what happened to his career, man, because he should have gone down, for me, as one of the best ever strikers to play the game, because he was just that good, you know. We're going to run through the numbers anyway. So obviously started his career with Sao Paulo, you know, 28 appearances, 17 goals. Then obviously Parma, 45 appearances, 26 goals, 3 assists. Fiorentina, 15 appearances, 6 goals, 4 assists. Flamengo, I'm not sure if Flamengo was on the end part of his career, but he got 81 appearances, 43 goals, 5 assists. And then obviously Inter Milan, where for me is where he excelled. You know, 177 appearances, 74 goals, 15 assists. And again, if you compare his numbers to the players now, like your Erling Haalands, you know, like your Harry Kanes, etc., you know, players like that, your Kylian Mbappe's, his numbers weren't nowhere near theirs, but he was an absolute demon, you know, and I'd argue with anyone that he's better than all 3 of them, because he had literally everything, Adriano. And again, Brazil, 48 appearances, 27 goals. So he had a decent scoring rate, to be fair. He had a decent scoring rate. But in comparison to a lot of the players now, the numbers weren't nowhere near it. But I'd argue with anyone to tell me that those 3, Mbappe, Haaland and Kane, 3 players right now that are talked about as the 3 best strikers in world football right now, I'd argue that he's better than all 3 of them, easily. And could you imagine that Adriano in this era of football, the Emperor? Yeah, he'll be causing absolute havoc, man, because this is an era of football right now where it's very much dominated on physicality. And if you put someone of his physicality and pace to go with his ability on the ball, he would absolutely destroy this era of football, man, because he was just that good, you know. Obviously, team honours: 1 Copa America with Brazil, 1 Confederations Cup with Brazil, 4 Serie A's, I think all with Inter, 2 Coppa Italias as well. He won 1 Brazilian league. I'm not sure if that was Flamengo or Sao Paulo. I think that might have been with Flamengo. He finished 6th in the voting for the World Player of the Year. And then individuals, 1 Copa America Golden Boot, 1 Confederations Cup Golden Boot, and then 1 the Golden Ball as well, which is the top scorer, I think, in the competition. I think it might have been, yeah. But as I said, this is a player for me that, you know, again, it's not really a numbers thing. And that's saying for a striker. Because someone like him would always get numbers because, as I said, as an all-round player, man, he could do it all. You know, good dribbler as well. And if you look at the size of him as well, you know, someone of the size of him shouldn't be that good of a dribbler. But he was a freak of nation. He was a freak, man, Adriano. And he was just he was that technically sound as well, as I said. He had no weaknesses that you could kind of exploit, man. He was that good. And I think the only thing that, as I said, when his dad passed away, you know, that obviously hit him hard. And as I said, that was the downturn in his career, man. And again, it's a shame because this guy was ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. I say one of my favorite ever players. You know, I don't really speak about him enough, you know, as I do, because my 3 favorite players are, you know, Ronaldinho, R9 and Messi. But then the likes of Neymar, the likes of Adriano, Pogba, Martial, Eden Hazard, Iniesta, you know, players like that. Them guys are right up there as well. Paulo Dybala, another one I like. These guys are right up there with it. But Adriano, for me, man, was an absolute monster in terms of his ability and in terms of the physicality as well. And as I said, closest striker for me that could have emulated R9. You know, not in identical in terms of playing style, but the levels that he could have reached because he was that good, you know. So yeah, man, pleasure to watch him play, but as I said, career didn't go the way that it should have with some of his ability. But guys, let me know what you think, Adriano the Emperor. You know, let me know if you think he could have emulated R9. Let me know if you think that in this era of football, he would absolutely destroy it. Because I have no doubts he would, you know, with what he had to offer. And as always, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. Make sure you share the channel. And again, as always, put your comments in. and I'll catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.